Smack.
We're not gonna talk about somebody who lost yesterday.
Yo, honestly, I think he might have won it. To be honest with you, like watching that battle over again. Hold on. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Highly Advised Podcast. You checking in right now? It's me, Spence, with two of my best friends, Lau and Nigel. You guys say what's up before we get too deep into that conversation. What's going on, you guys?
Yo, it's your boy Big Cozy, Too Cozy, aka El Chapo, aka Don Pablo. I'm right here with my two best amigos, Nigel.
What's going on, y'all? This is Nigel. Coming here today on the Highly Advised Podcast, trying to get y'all clued in on what happened. You know, we got a few things to talk about. We got some MMA, we got some, hip hop, all that good shit, all that cool stuff. we got some things to talk
had a
about.
clue drop. Like the guy that's at the mixtape just be talking. It's like, yo, what? It's like, fam, we just asked you to rap your verse, man.
One of those DJs were like literally talking. He'd be like, I think it was one of Waka Flocka's mixtapes. He'd be like, I thought he had the big guns. like that's what he said. It wasn't even a drop. It was just like, oh man, he had it. I was just like, all right. And then the song started.
Fucking Clue. The Clue shit used to be crazy.
Yeah, man.
Because that motherfucker, he'll talk and you'll just hear the echoes in the background.
I was actually listening to part of Professional Part 2 the other day. Oh,
really? I gotta revisit that, John.
Yeah, I was listening to Fantastic Four. I think it was the one with Cameron. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that was like that was such a good era. What's ironic about that is, like, though I listened to a lot, I came up listening to a lot of mixtapes. That part, like that Clue era, I had to go back and revisit it. Yeah, because like it wasn't going on when I was like outside. Well, it was going on when I was outside, but we grew up in a small town, so it's not like you was able to get all of that shit.
So for me, like, it was a lot of my brother playing that, and a lot of my music taste, especially as far as like rap goes, I would say it comes from him for sure, because he would be playing, DMX and all types of other shit. And I remember one time my dad came in the house. He was like, yo, you can't play this song because I think DMX was just like cussing like hard. He's like, yo, you can't do that shit. Little did he know, in a few years I'll be walking to school listening to Eminem in third grade.
God damn.
Hey, it happened.
Walking to school singing Kim.
No, my favorite song was Criminal, where he's like, my words are like a dagger with a jagged edge, stab you in the head. Da 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 da.
Honestly, I didn't grow up listening to him like that. I wasn't a big fan of his. Like, outside of like whatever was on the radio. Right. Like, I always thought his beats were really bad. I found out he made his own beats to some extent. Honestly, I just think his production was really bad personally. And also, like I've said before, don't get me wrong, M is a phenomenal rapper. Okay. But to some extent, I think I've listened to some of his albums and he has some good music in those albums, but a lot of the times it's like, okay, dude, you just rhyming words. You just putting words together to put words together.
I can see that. He's just really good at it, though. You know what I mean? I think he's better than most.
Yeah, he's at the top level when it comes to it, but it's just you putting words together. I'd rather listen to Kendrick.
I don't know. Like, I feel like people always talk about Eminem's content and say he doesn't really have content, or like it's about things that people don't necessarily care about. Like, and I think to a certain degree that's true, but I think he does have songs where he's actually rapping about things as well. I think you have to listen to his body of work to really like explore that, though.
I don't have to check it out.
What?
Go ahead. You said what?
Who? My name is...
Hi, kids. Do you like violence? Do you want to see me stick 9-inch nails to each one of my eyelids?
Eminem was talking to me. I was like, yeah, I want to see that violent shit. Like, yeah.
It was for the kids. It was for the kids that would love Jackass.
Like, I didn't like that shit when I was younger. Like, to me, it was just dumb. It was just dumb.
I thought that shit was funny as fuck. See, stupid ass people do dumb shit.
Yeah, that shit was funny to me, man.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. I think that shit was funny to me, bro. I'm surprised you didn't like that shit out of all people.
It wasn't for me.
For real.
Nah,
that's definitely getting cut of that.
It's not true all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes the violent shit can be cool, but sometimes it's too much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't like movies with like torture in them. Like, just kind of, I've never liked that shit.
I feel you. I mean, it all depends. I think it all depends, like what exactly it is. Like if it's something with like too much torture, if it gets like too gruesome and graphic, I might like dip off on it. But if it's like something light, I'll keep it as is.
I don't need to hear somebody yelling in pain for like 6 minutes. I'll put it like that.
But you will watch Fury Tyson too, right?
Yeah, but
And
to me,
just
that's not the same.
there's a rumor that Fury actually cheated in both of those fights.
How did he cheat exactly?
He took the padding out of his gloves.
Mm, well,
Yeah.
that's definitely gonna be something to look forward to in the third fight.
Yeah, I mean, some people are calling for him to actually suspend it, which
Good old Queensberry fucking rule set fighting.
what? Because, what you want him to take the padding out of his knuckles?
That's fucking horseshit. I mean, they're already fucking protected by all angles of fucking fighting, and they're complaining. It's not like fucking Margarita. Remember when he had like cement in his fucking boxing gloves?
Yeah, that shit was wild.
Yeah, that is wild.
That's something to be upset about. But if the nigga didn't put padding in his boxing gloves, like, come on, bro. Like,
nah, come on, bro. That's a bare knuckle fight then.
but that shouldn't be the reason why Deontay Wilder lost, because he got hit.
I disagree with that.
Nah, I disagree. Did you ever watch what was it? Lobov?
Buff and
Melanaji?
Yeah, Melanage. Yeah, I watched that. I watched it live actually.
Yeah. You saw the end result of that, like from that bare knuckle fight, right?
Yeah, Artem, he did his thing, and Polly looked like shit.
Pretty much it allows for almost the equivalence if you take your padding out of your glove, out of your boxing glove.
Maybe because the mixed martial arts fan in me. Here's what I don't understand, right?
They still have padding though.
Yeah, 4 ounces, bro, which is barely nothing. They only use that so this way they don't break their fucking knuckles.
Right.
The 4 ounce gloves is really nothing. It's like you can't even legally box with 4 ounce gloves. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I mean, it's not bare knuckle technically, but I mean it's close to it. And I feel like if that's the case with Tyson Fury, right? Let's just say it's true, right? Because you said it was just a rumor. So let's just say it's true. I'm like, really? I mean, if you watch that fight, it was a back and forth fight. Deontay just got his ears boxed off of him.
Yeah, I mean, but it's been seen in history, even in boxing, where someone could be winning the fight and they're still using their knuckles. They're still using their knuckles because let's be honest, we all know Fury is not a power puncher. He's not a power puncher at the end of the day. So
okay,
his punches hold more power. They're gonna hurt more now that he doesn't when you reduce the amount of padding on his knuckles. So it's like, to me, I see it like this. I get where you're coming from in terms of like MMA, but at the end of the day, these are the rules for the sport. And anybody that's crossed those lines before, they get penalized for it. It would still be the same win or no win, even if he was predicted to be the underdog in that fight. It still would have been, yo, you shouldn't be doing that, or vice versa. He boxed his head off. He still shouldn't be doing it. So
no, I mean, like if it's against the rules for that to happen, and then he's in the wrong. So I'm not saying that. Like, I'm not saying he should cheat and he should be praised for cheating or nothing like that. What I'm saying is, like, I don't think that's the reason why Deontay Wilder lost.
I think it
has an impact.
I think it's a viable thing to say, like, hey, this might have been a factor as to why, like Spence said, he's punching harder and he hits him a different way than it would be if there wasn't padding, or if there was padding. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I think it is a cause for concern.
Even like they were saying how, I guess, his training partners were coming out. Like a training partner came out and said, like, yeah, he removed padding from his pads even when they were sparring. So in the sparring session.
Yeah, you're not gonna be cutting my face up before a fight.
Exactly. So it holds some impact. And now I think Deontay Wilder was going to lose to him every time they fight. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it holds some impact. But at the end of when it's all said and done, if they get to have that fight at the end of the year, like they declared, it's gonna be a huge payday.
It's supposed to be fine in December, right? Oh, I mean, it's booked for December.
Yeah, it's booked for December, so it's that the type of payday that they're gonna have is gonna be something crazy. It, I don't think it's gonna match up to like Patrick Mahomes,
Yeah.
but it's gonna be something pretty wild nonetheless. Because I think how much did Patrick Mahomes get? What was it, like 10 years, 500, right?
They're saying that Patrick Mahomes could possibly get paid $50 million a year.
Yeah,
Possibly.
500 million.
yeah, it's like $503 million.
So look, man, here's what I feel about it, right? While Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL, he is, period, right now. At the same time, like, are you willing to bank that much money on one dude when you know that you got to pay your other players, that he might get injured, that there's a lot that can happen in 10 years, and like he's just going to get old. It's just like, do you really want to take all of that risk with that much money on one guy?
Bingo. And then over 400 million of it is fucking guaranteed. So like that.
Jeez.
So I agree with your statement, Nigel. I think it's a big fucking risk for that. You know what I mean? That there's without a shadow of a doubt, that nigga is the number one quarterback in the league today. But to say that from 5 years from now, and to say that from another 5 years, you gotta be a fortune teller, because that's a risk and a half. I'm happy because he's getting his bread, and I'm happy because at the end of the day, he's a black guy getting his money. So I'm always happy about that. But as far as like a sporting aspect goes, it's like, Patrick could always get hurt, or Patrick might not be able to deliver another Super Bowl in the next 10 years. It's realistic. Look at fucking Brett Favre. You know what I mean? After his one Super Bowl, look at the rest of his career.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, but and I get that, but I think even with the type of contract that they set up, they set that contract up like from what Nigel was talking about is concerned about paying other players. They set that contract up so even though Patrick Mahomes would get a huge payday, you're also going to be able to you'll still be able to distribute money out to other players and give them those paydays also, those needed paydays also, to keep that collective team and build upon that though. So, I mean, I think it is a huge investment, but Patrick Mahomes is what, like 24, 25?
it's a great deal for him. Definitely a great deal for his family and all that stuff. So that it's amazing. If we all got $500 million thrown in our face, I'm guaranteed that we all taking that shit too.
Here's my thing though. Like, I feel like when you pay a guy that much money, you have to hit like every person in the draft. Like every pick has to be. I'm not gonna say every pick has to be a hit, but you're not guaranteed to get a Tyreek Hill. I think Patrick Mahomes is gonna make most of his running backs look good as long as they can catch. And it's just like, at the end of the day, like I feel like they're gonna be a passing offensive team anyway. So it's like it really doesn't matter. Like while I think that's just supplementary to their game plan, their defense needs money. How are they going to pay the Honey Badger? You know what I mean? They can't do that with the money that they're gonna owe him, because he's going to be looking for like a decent amount of money.
But it's not going to be anything. It's not going to be anywhere near what Patrick Mahomes is getting paid.
Never.
So yeah, so like I think they'll still be able to afford it because they set this up because I think it's like 430 million is like guaranteed or something like that, which is 43 a year. But I'm quite sure they found like, all I know is from what I've read, they found a way to make it feasible so they can still give out other paydays to other players and coaches and so forth. So I mean, they'll trust me to invest $500 million into a quarterback. They'll figure a way out. They'll have to figure a way to make it work. And I mean, at the end of the day, what else? What payday would have been great? Because he'll be 25 in September. So like this season he'll be 25. So coming off of a Super Bowl win into negotiations, what other contract would would be best for them at the end of him at the end of the day. Like what? There's no other. I don't think there's really another number that would have been feasible. Definitely coming off of a Super Bowl win into the contract negotiations, it'd be too hard.
When you're giving one player $500 million, what it says to me is you're putting all the chips on for him to bring you rings. You got to think about cap space and what the league allows for each franchise. You know how much money they're allowed to blow, whatever. You could always get a good player out of the draft, no doubt. But if it's a player that's demanding a lot of money, it will never be there because you gave $500 million to Patrick Mahomes. He's worth a lot of money, but that's just always the thing with that. Like I'm gonna bring it over to like basketball a little bit. So when you give, like, for example, when they gave Steph Curry like the $400 million in the NBA, and then you got KD who's a top dollar athlete, then you got Klay Thompson who's another top dollar athlete, then you have Draymond Green where he might not be skilled of the other two, but due to his contribution to the Warriors, he's a top dollar athlete. And now some people have to go, and that's why the Warriors were like the worst team this season, and they might not be to their glory days for another couple seasons because they're the top players took all the money and there's no more cap space. So Patrick Mahomes getting 500 is great for him and it's good for him, but for the rest of the Chiefs roster, I know they won't be able to pay anybody asking for higher dollar value. They might have a hard time giving them their money.
I think it might be possible because they're saying even after the Mahomes thing, right? Okay. After the Mahomes contract, so in 2020 they still have $6 million of cap space, right?
Okay.
And that's
you said $6 million.
Yeah, $6 million, which isn't. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it's really just to pay for their rookie class because they've already have everything else everything else out the way. So then, for
$6 million isn't. Tyreek Hill is going to be asking for a lot. They cannot keep Tyreek Hill with $6 million.
So they won't be able to have him for the season, is what you're saying.
I'm not saying this season, but when his time comes up to get paid more money, he's gone.
Yeah, but that money. No, well, that's for this season. That's for the rest of the season, though. For 2021 is $35 million. 22 is $107 million. 23 is $166 million. Like so that's still.
How much does Patrick Mahomes' deal equal to yearly?
It's probably going. I'm not sure how much it's going to equal to yearly, based on what I'm reading. It's more than likely because they're saying it's valued at what $503 million is his contract. So that means it's $50.3 a year.
You said 50.3?
Yeah.
So supposedly the cap space for every team should be raising a little bit next year, but that's just a rumor. And I'm assuming that they made this deal with that in mind. If that cap raise isn't as high as they think it is, I don't see how they could actually afford to pay some of their top players because they have more than enough people who are relatively good at their positions to where they're going to be shelling out some money.
I mean, from everything that I've read, when they made this deal, they made the deal with the intentions that it won't affect the cap as badly as many would think. So like it doesn't, like for some reason it doesn't have the extension doesn't have any bearings on like the percentage of the cap space. Between that and then you also have the increases, it's like probably more than likely they'll probably be safe for the most part. I think it's only time to tell when next season comes around if your cap space currently the prediction is like they'll have $30-something million for cap space.
Well, I guess we're gonna have to see, man. But I mean, if we're talking about people getting paid, Jorge Masvidal, had that new deal and he went in and fought last night.
Yeah, he definitely did. Well, what did y'all think about it? Because I was a little tired when I was watching it, so it felt somewhat of a snooze fest to me.
Well, I mean, I guess we should talk about the three title fights at least if we're going to talk about the card. And I will say we should talk about the Rose Namajunas fight because like she had a decent fight. She had a decent few rounds, but it looked like this fight was more of a comeback fight for her. I think she might need another fight to kind of get in the groove of things because she didn't look like the Rose that was in there fighting Joanna. at all. And I just feel like, you know, she didn't look like her average self to me personally.
Yeah, I mean, she looked different, but I think also she had lost. This is the second time fighting Jessica Andrade,
Right.
and the first time she got slammed on her neck. So like I think, and even in this fight, she almost got slammed on her neck, and you saw how she spent out of that so quickly. I think she was just probably being more cautious
Yeah.
in this fight, if anything.
Do you think she was fighting scared at all?
Um, I think initially she didn't want to press on the gas as much. I think she was being a little bit more conscious. She let off the gas, like taking off maybe 10 to 15% of her typical intensity, because you come off of a loss that, like many have said, had she landed a different way in that loss in her last fight with Jessica Andrade, she probably would not have a career anymore.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a bad landing. It's just that I can't see me personally. I think that might have played a little bit of a role. You know what I mean? Like, I think any person who gets in the octagon, I don't think they're necessarily a scared person, but I know somewhere in the back of the mind, like she might have been thinking about that. It seemed like that the way she was fighting, that she knew the power she had and she knew the potential for bad things to happen.
And I mean, at the end of the day, that's smart to some extent. Like, and we'll talk about Usman soon, but I think when you're at a certain level, definitely at the highest level there is, I think you become a little bit more mindful of the moves that you make, because you understand, hey, definitely when you lost, because typically when you lose to, and typically they statistically when you lose to a fighter, there's a higher percentage that they'll beat you the second time around. So I think she was just trying to. I think she was trying to take much more precaution in what she did. But and most fighters do that. Even when you're the champion defending the belt, like, hey, let me. Once I get the title, I can actually start pressing the gas on people again. So
Right.
I thought Rose won the fight, 2 rounds to 1. I thought it was a really good fight, and I'm glad that she did win, because I think Jessica Andrade, I think she's a little overrated for real. I would like to see Rose Namajunas fight for the title next.
yeah, I feel you. Oh, and while we talking about UFC 251, shout outs to Amanda Ribas for having such an impeccable score, impeccable record of 101. We saw that last night. I know you guys try to get rid of it, but we saw it just to put it out there. That's all.
They thought that we didn't notice the other 99 people she beat on the way to getting here. Wrong.
Skillful, got the touch of death on her hands, man. Even like the Holloway fight, I thought that was gonna be. Well, I'm not gonna say it was gonna be a touch of death. That's more. I think that's more Masvidal. The Holloway fight, that was actually probably one of my favorite fights from last night. To be honest with you,
That was a good fight. I actually liked Jose Aldo and Pietro Yan a little more. I thought they were cracking each other pretty hard in their fight. Honestly, I know Jose Aldo, he was getting spanked. Was it the fourth round he was getting spanked in, or it was?
Yeah,
I think
Yeah, he was getting spanked in the fourth round. But I definitely give him a standing ovation for sure, because like he fought really well. You know what I mean? But like he has nothing to hang his head down for anything. He fought a good fight, and it was just Peter Yan's time right now. But
yeah.
that was a great fight. I'm excited to see Aljamain Sterling get his title shot now, and it's a long time coming for him. And I think Aljamain Sterling, I think he could win the fight, but it's going to be a really hard fight, because as we all seen last night, Peter Yan, he's no joke.
Yeah, he's different at the end of the day. When watching that fight, because there was a moment where I had Aldo up. He wasn't backing down throughout that fight, and with the type of kicks that he was given, it was crazy. Like, he swept Peter Yan off his feet a couple of times. I will say, like, even for that fight for Yan, I think Yan's next fight will be it won't be easy for in terms of just that competition, but I think we'll just have to see.
I mean, same thing y'all said. You know, it was a good fight. I thought that it was interesting just to see Jose Aldo kind of slow down the way he did. Like, I think just seemed like I don't know, was gassed is what it looked like for the most part against Peter Yan in the fourth and fifth round. When he was stopped, he got hit a lot. That fight could have been stopped a little bit sooner.
he was just laying there on the ground. Like he couldn't defend himself. He must have got hit like at least 20 plus times.
Oh, he definitely got hit a lot. And it was just one of those things where I was just watching it and I was just like, it's over, I think this is going to be a big loss for Jose Aldo. He seems to really want a belt back. I mean, at this point in time,
should he retire?
Do I think he should retire? I personally think Jose Aldo should retire, but I don't think he's going to think he's going to retire. I think he's going to be fighting for a little bit, but because he looked good in the fight until he didn't. It's one of those things where I feel like he, probably could fight some people, maybe have a second run. But I think if he doesn't get a title shot or this next run for a title shot doesn't go well, I think he should think about retirement. He has nothing else to prove. He's the best featherweight of all time.
No, he's not.
Who is?
Max Holloway, easy.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, you're right. Max Holloway is. He's the second best. You're right.
Easy, Max is.
You're right.
Yeah, especially after the performance he put on last night in the fight that he fucking won, but whatever fucking judges that was snorting coke last night, they happened to fucking see something completely different. They saw Volkanovski win when he really didn't fucking win. And that's not a knock on Volkanovski, because Volkanovski, he adjusted in the fight and he actually won a couple rounds. But anybody, that has half of a damn brain could see that Max won the fight. To me, that was a fucking robbery and that fucking sucked. And I didn't watch all the press conference with Dana White, but it was kind of alluding to that they might start thinking of a trilogy.
I don't like the idea of that this soon.
It is soon. I think that Max, even though he did win last night's fight and he got robbed of it, I think Max should take another fight or two to help build the narrative and with the Volkanovski trilogy. Because I think Volkanovski said in last night too that he's not ruling out a third fight with Max either. I mean, of course, he wasn't going to admit that he fucking lost, but in his words, he knew that it was a close fight.
If Max was to take another fight, my only concern is just how the MMA gods play. He could end up losing the fight. If he was to end up losing his next fight, right?
Yeah.
Then it really pushes him back from even having a conversation of going for like contention of the title again. I think it would be best for him to take some time off in between now and a rematch for a third time, but I definitely do believe he deserves another fight because he should have won the fight last night, but I don't know. I think it's just gonna take some time for him to like really gather his thoughts and try to figure out how to make it more of a definitive opinion that he won the fight, even in the judges' eyes. So
yeah, and it was a good fight. Like I said a little earlier, no knock on Volkanovski. I don't think people should be hating him. The hate should be towards the judges. He adjusted. He fought well. You know what I mean? It takes two to tango. So no knock on him. I thought it was a good fight. I just thought the wrong person won. That's all.
It's weird because it looked like Volkanovski, his game plan kind of reversed. Like instead of doing good in the earlier rounds, like in the later rounds, that's what seems to have won it for him. I think the real debatable round for most of the judges will be the third, even though I think Max Holloway won that. I think that's where it really kicks in, the third through fifth round.
Through fifth. Yeah, I mean, I need to go back and look at it again to really make a fair assessment of it. But it's definitely one of those fights where I think, just like even like with battle rap in that sense, or any other fight, like you gotta actually go back and review it first. I would have to watch it again to really say whether or not he won the third round. Now, I think he did. I think he won the fight overall, but sometimes the judges are just, they have their own eye. A lot of times the judges don't even have it right. I think even on verdict they had Max Holloway winning the fight.
Yep, they did.
Well, I mean, like in the Jorge Masvidal fight, for example, you didn't have to look for any type of judgment there. Like Jorge Masvidal decisively lost that fight.
Seeing the first round, I thought he was going to actually give it to him, and then he dropped the ball.
I think it's 6 days, man. It's 6 days going against the champion. You know what I mean? Like, what can you do?
But see, yeah, I feel you on that. But at the same time, I also believe, granted, Jorge Masvidal, he wasn't training, like having a training camp, quote unquote. Right. But he was training. He's been training to fight Usman probably since the beginning of this year, right?
Right.
So like, similar to like, granted, he had more time but like in the fight with Tony Ferguson, right?
Right.
Like Ferguson lost that fight, but we all know
Justin
Gaethje. Yeah, like even like for Justin Gaethje, right?
Okay.
We know Justin Gaethje, he got the fight on short notice, but we also know he ended up having to fight Tony Ferguson. He even came out and said like, "Hey, I didn't plan on fighting Tony. My plans were to fight Khabib, and he had been training since the beginning of the year, since he had found out there was going to be a fight. Hey, let me train. If something were to happen, I could pop right into that seat." I think Masvidal had a hard time, definitely with 6 days notice, even
Right.
from a mental preparation part. Maybe from a mental preparation part and possibly just gassing himself. I mean, also, I think Usman played it safe most of the fight.
Usman's game plan, I don't think is really going to change for most people. I think his stand up is supplementary to his ground game and his clinch game. I think
Right.
he was never planning on standing up fully with Gilbert Burns or Jorge Masvidal for that matter. Maybe more so Gilbert Burns, but I mean, I don't think if he ever fought Jorge Masvidal, the game plan was to stand up and fight him because he knows that he's just the superior fighter on the feet. So it's like I think he did what he thought he would do. It's just he didn't do it in a really convincing way because I think he also suffered from the 6-day notice.
I think people got spoiled with the Kobe fight because that was just a 5-round stand-up war. But remember, Kobe Covington, he isn't a great stand-up fighter neither. So I think that's why Usman was very confident enough to stand up with him in 5 rounds and not even utilize wrestling. But with the Masvidal fight, as you seen in that first round, he right away he knew like I'm not gonna stand with this guy for a full 5 minutes every round. He's gonna stand up with him just to gauge the distance and then shoot for a takedown or press him against the cage and start doing clinch work because he is not. He was getting hit a whole lot every time they were exchanging, and that was like from a gas Masvidal. So Usman's his real fighting style is like that wall and stall, dirty grind in the clinch work against the fence. Really just trying to wear you down or break you down. He might have a few explosive takedowns here and there. But here's a good example of Usman's fighting style and what to expect moving forward. The way he beat Tyron Woodley, how he fought that whole fight, that's how Usman fights. That's how he clearly fights. Now, if you are a guy that your stand-up is trash and he knows that your stand-up is trash, then he's going to fight you like he fought Kobe. But with Gilbert Burns, I don't think he was going to fight Gilbert Burns in a stand-up. I think he was going to try to press him against the cage and try to wear him down or look for takedowns or whatnot. And if he could get a finish off the ground, then cool. But I don't think his game plan was ever to go in there and try to trade with Gilbert at all. So kudos to Usman, right? Because he did what he had to do to win, and you can never take that away from him. But a lot of people, I think they were just spoiled from the Kobe fight, and they thought they're talking shit on Usman, being like, "Oh, well, all he's doing is just wall and stalling," and it's boring as fuck. I'm not gonna hold you,
right?
But people shouldn't be surprised with him at all.
No, I mean, I wasn't surprised when I saw him do what he did. To me, it was so unsurprising when it was happening. I was just like, wow, this is like boring because this is exactly what I thought was going to happen. But I wasn't mad at him for doing it. I mean, he did the smart thing. It's just that it's not an appealing style. But I think for me personally, if I'm going to see somebody get dominated in the clinch or on the ground, I'd just rather see a GSP like win where he's actually sitting there and like punching and trying to hit his opponent the entire time.
Yeah.
To me, it was a snooze fest at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, you did fall asleep.
Yeah, I did fall asleep. And y'all saw me last night. Like if it was entertaining, I woke up to watch the shit. It was just a snooze fest. Like you just hitting the nigga feet the whole time. You hitting the dude's feet the whole time.
Oh, you didn't like those foot stomps?
Nah. It's like, come on, fam. I could do better. I could do better on my own. Like, to be honest with you, watching that main event, talking about main events, right? And what was upsetting was that main event was much more upsetting than Gnome 10's main event.
So we're getting into Gnome 10.
I mean, we could talk about it afterwards. I'm
ready.
But I was just gonna say, like, in terms of it, we're gonna talk about that for another joint. You feel me? But
I feel you.
Yeah. I'm just saying it was that was very underwhelming, just like the Lux and Surf battle, which we'll get into. If you listening to this right now, trust me, check out the gnome shit that we gonna drop. You gonna like it. But it was overall though, it was very underwhelming. It was somewhat underwhelming, just like what my predictions are going to be for this 50 versus Ti thing.
Okay.
Like Ti's been running around here begging and pleading with 50 Cent for a versus battle, which I think
Please, 50, make me relevant again. I have relevant since 2005, 2006. Please,
yeah.
please. I know the clout that you give. Please make.
He's trying to have an entanglement with 50 in this for this versus battle, man. Like Ti's been running around here. Like anybody, if you're not aware of it, listeners, Ti for the next versus battle, Ti has been calling out 50 Cent or anybody that's from New York, right? For one, he's got killed the noise. He's also stated that he believes that there's a bias against him because he's not from New York. Most people think New York artists are gonna win. A New York artist will beat an Atlanta artist. He can kill that noise. He's out here running around, and I guess he forgot how petty 50 is.
Yeah.
Until 50 started pulling up his he put up the Crime Stopper commercial, fucking disrespecting him that way. And I don't think Ti realizes the extent that 50 is willing to go, because I know they've had an exchange of words over the years.
Right.
So, because I don't know if you remember, but it was like in 2012, 2013, they were having like 50 had tweeted something to Ti about, oh, you should have pretty much saying you should let your girl go to jail instead of you going to jail.
I mean, look, the way I see it is like this, man. At the end of the day, 50 is going to be 50. I feel like 50, he is going to say what he feels, regardless
Absolutely.
of that makes people like him or hate him. And he's going to say it, and he's going to put his shit out there. He has no problem with the disrespect. And if you bring it to 50, that's what he's going to bring. Even if you don't bring disrespect, if you bring a battle to him, he's bringing the disrespect to the battle. He's like, I don't want to say that, but he's kind of like Arsenal just in the rap game. Like, you know what I mean? But he's 50 Cent.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think with 50 though is he's always been disrespectful, and he always will be. And like in his book that I read, he talked about how
you got the book review coming up.
Oh yeah, I got that. That ain't no problem.
All right,
that ain't no problem. We'll break it down chapter by chapter.
I need the Spark Note too.
Oh, see, that's why. What Jada say? Jada said it best. If you want to hide something from someone, put it in a book. You'll have to take. I'm gonna just freestyle it. I'm gonna freestyle my review.
Why don't you just narrate it? Just put like a little,
Yo, fuck out of here.
Well, 30-minute or like a 3-hour reading by Spence.
Nah, that book is 8 hours, man.
Hey, you got it.
Shit.
Go ahead.
Shit in me.
You got 8 hours worth of reading in you. You do a podcast. The listeners don't know we record for like 4 hours at a time.
To be honest with you, like the podcast that we record really is like the post podcast. To be honest with you, yeah. So maybe one day we'll actually do something where you guys can hear some of the shit that we be talking about. But actually, there's some conversations that we're gonna actually be putting up pretty soon that y'all might like, that you guys are gonna like. Some of those shits are my favorite personally. But back to the 50 thing. 50 is just the king of disrespect at the end of the day. But when it comes down to the battle itself, I got 50 winning. I think it's going to be somewhat close in comparison to Ti, but I don't see Ti winning that battle.
Yeah, I got 52. Bruh, I'm just not a Ti guy. Urban Legend is a classic, but the King album, they got some joints in the King album, and then that's it. Right, and I feel like T.I. said that he should be put up there with the Jay-Z's and the Kanye's, and I was like, come on, bro. You're not even the best at coming out of Atlanta. You're not, I mean, granted, yeah, you could say he's an Atlanta legend, but when we're thinking about legends of the rap game, T.I. doesn't pop up in my mind first.
Really?
That's crazy.
He's a legend. He's an icon, I think, also for Southern music.
I said the dude is a legend. I'm not saying he is it, but when you think of legends, he's not the first legend you're thinking of. You know what I mean? He's not. This would be real, and we
He
don't.
carried this off on his back to some extent.
For a little bit of time, him and Ludacris.
Yeah, I mean, because yeah, he did. I'm not going to take that away from him, but he wasn't the best artist coming out of Atlanta. You
I
know,
mean,
Jeezy was better than. I'm not even gonna say Jeezy, right? Because Jeezy came a little after him. Ludacris was better than him.
I think that's arguable. I think you're gonna speak to some people, and it's gonna be between Ludacris and Ti, and not everybody's gonna see Ludacris. Some people actually strongly dislike Ludacris.
yeah, I was gonna say I can see more people giving it to Ti than Ludacris. I mean Ti. I mean you gotta realize Ti also is called the King of the South. Like
Self-proclaimed king of the South.
I mean, but who?
I mean, self-proclaimed king of the South. Is first of all, it's a real subjective title, right? If you think of if you really want to be like, oh, well, the real king of the South, real king of the South, and we're just based off of music, you can't say Ti. You would probably have to say somebody like Lil Wayne or something like that, who is from the South and who became a lot bigger than Ti. And a lot of people think of him as a legend before they think of Ti. So he's a self-proclaimed king of the South, and that's cool.
But that's a lot of artists, though.
I don't know any other artists besides LL Cool J who's really proclaiming themselves as the king.
You have artists where even like Wayne, for instance, like Wayne has came out and said Wayne came out plenty of times. His whole when he was trailblazing, quote unquote, during that 06 to 08 run, he was saying like, "Yo, I'm the pretty much I'm the greatest of all time. I'm the greatest rapper alive since the greatest rapper retired." That was like his slogan.
Yeah.
So he was self-proclaiming himself as this great artist, which became the conversation for Ti. For Ti, Ti has the right, even though he self-proclaimed himself as that. It's hard for many to it's hard to argue that he's not the king of the South, just because he was one of the trailblazers. Him and Ludacris. And I would say probably Ti before Ludacris because I think he came out first, like in a mainstream sense. Like Ti, he was one of the trailblazers for trap music that we have today. He's a trailblazer. He's a trailblazer for just trap music and just that street selling music for the most part. I didn't listen. I can't really think of. It's hard to think of a lot of street rappers from Atlanta I was listening to at that time. I know there were some around, but living up north, it wasn't like that wasn't something that you were going to hear on the radio. There weren't many of those people that you were going to hear on the radio that were more than a one-hit wonder.
Man, I don't see how you can think about that time period and not talk about Ti. Like, you know what I mean?
24s, Rubber Band, Live Your Life.
Yeah, just all that, you know what I mean?
In that time period, right? Because that's when Ti was, really relevant. But we're talking about the versus battles where we're talking about two guys who are not relevant in the music sense of things. They're going on. It's kind of like when old artists are going on tour. That's what this versus thing is like. And so if we're talking about the whole career of Ti, right? The guy is a legend. I say he's for sure an Atlanta legend or whatever like that. So you can't take away his accolades, but the whole stretch of his career, you know what I mean? He's definitely not he's not the best rapper to come out of Atlanta at all.
The way you made it seem when you first said it sounded like I don't think about Ti when I think about legends. That's what it sounded like.
Well, I don't. I mean, like, let's be real. When you think about legends, you automatically people start thinking about, okay, Biggie, Jay-Z, Eminem, Nas, blah blah blah. Nobody's going to randomly be like, "Oh, Ti." Nobody's doing that. Let's be real. The only reason why we're talking about Ti now is because of what's been happening the past week. But outside of that, we've never mentioned Ti at all. We haven't. When we talk about music shit and all that, let's be 100% real. We haven't.
I mean, I'll give you that. He's not relevant today. I'll give you that. But I think when you look at his legacy and you actually look at the impact that he had, I have to give T.I. I got to give T.I. his just due. He just in his case, he could be considered one of those artists from the South that are on that same tier as like the Jay-Z's and stuff like that. Because there was a moment in time I heard people saying at some moment in time on blogs that T.I. was like the Jay-Z of the South at one moment because he was the hottest. Some people will go with Wayne, but there's an argument for Wayne at the end of the day because the reality is when Wayne came out, and we can get into that another day, but there wasn't a lot of competition for Wayne, right?
I'll put it like this, man. When Wayne first came out, T.I. was T.I. and Ludacris was Ludacris when Wayne came out. And that's not to say Wayne hadn't like kind of established himself to be part of the Hot Boys and whatever, but he hadn't really broke out and became the Wayne we know today until like the Carter 2. You know what I mean?
No, I would say that the Carter 1 is when he became established. Carter 2 is what shot him to the top of the heat. But I
just said that. We're saying the same thing.
No, we're not. You said that he didn't become Wayne until Carter 2. No, he became Wayne with the Carter 1.
I didn't say that. I said he was already established, but he didn't become the Wayne we know today until the Carter 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can agree to that.
I'm just saying, like, if we're looking once again, if we're talking about, hey guys, who are some of your favorite rap legends? T.I. is he ain't coming up like that. Now, unless all you listen to is Atlanta music, because there's people that just listen to one section of music. So if you're an Atlanta guy and all you listen to is Atlanta rappers, yeah, T.I. is probably gonna pop up for sure. But if you listen to various across the fucking nation, T.I. is not gonna pop up like that, bro.
Dog, if it comes to Southern music, T.I. is definitely a top tier. See, bro.
You're saying Southern.
All rap music. All rap music, T.I. is definitely up there. T.I. deserves to be up there.
He's not, bro. I would never put T.I. on the same level as Jay-Z. I would never put him on the same level as Nas. I would never put him on the same level as Biggie or Pac. I would never put him on the same level as Eminem. I wouldn't even put him on the same level as Busta Rhymes. So, like, let's be real. Like,
are you going on rapping ability? Or are you just talking? Are you going on rapping ability? Because if you're going on rapping ability, because everybody you name outside of Tupac, personally, is a lyrical artist, right?
Tupac was lyrical. He wasn't. Yeah, he was.
He wasn't.
Let's not even get into it because I feel like we could debate about that.
For the listeners, and we could talk about that another time. When I say Tupac is not a lyrical artist, I'm saying is that in terms of similes and metaphors that all those other artists you name were able to do, Pac wasn't doing that. Tupac was an artist. I'll give him that. He was a creative artist, but in terms of what I deem lyrical ability along the lines of a pun, Lupe, Roots type shit, like Black Thought type shit, Tupac wasn't that. So
you had to get the last word, bro. I feel
I'm clear. No, to me, I'm clearing it up. So just so you understand why I'm saying that. That's
because that does sound kind of crazy, but
yeah, I mean, shit, you could use it as a drop. I don't care.
I'm just saying like this, man. If you had to choose top 10 legends of the rap game across the entire fucking board, we're not talking about top 10 of the South, top 10 of the East, top 10 of the West. T.I. is not cracking that top 10 across all the board. Now, if we're talking about top 10 of the South, yeah, you have to put T.I. in there. You know what I mean?
So let me ask you this: who from the South is deserving to be in the top 10?
I mean, T.I., right? Since we're talking.
I'm asking you. I'm talking about in terms of the top 10 rap. In terms of top 10, out of that top 10, are there any Southern artists that you're putting in there?
Probably Andre 3000.
I'm not putting Andre 3000 by himself as a top 10. Outkast, I'll do.
Okay, that's fair too. But because I thought Outkast is better.
So is that the only artist that you're putting?
If in a top 10 generalization from the South, yeah, Outkast would be the only one.
Okay, I can respect that. I mean, in terms of rapping ability, and lyricism, in terms of like similes and punch and metaphors, like I was talking about with Pop, I agree to that. But when it comes to like big artists that were big, like people that were big artists, T.I. definitely deserves to be in that conversation.
Outkast is if it wasn't for them, the South wouldn't be really recognized, right? Because you can't forget what they did at the award show. You know what I mean? They let everybody know, like, hey, the South is here, and then they're like the first popping group.
Yeah,
coming out of Atlanta, and then you see their career. You know, a lot of people respect their career. I'm not saying people don't respect T.I. or whatever like that, but when I just
T.I. was like the next biggest artist after Outkast, probably.
yes, during the early 2000s, and that's it, bro. People, okay, I'll give you like Paper Trail because that wasn't a bad album, but one album out of the other albums that he put out in the late 2000s, nobody's talking about. But
bro, he has hits on every album though, on every album from King, right? 2006. What you know about that? Why you want to do that? Live in the Sky, Top Back, Urban Legend, which is 2004. You got Bring 'Em Out. You Don't Know About Me, ASAP.
Early 2000s, bro.
Yeah, that's early 2000, 2007, right? 2007 is T.I. versus Tip. Big Things Popping. You Know What It Is. I don't remember Hurt. But those are big things even at that time in 2007 and 2008, and that's Paper Trail came out in 2008. So
yeah, I said besides Paper Trail because let's be real, T.I. versus T.I.P. That was the start of the downfall for him. Because Urban Legend, right? I mean, when he came out with I'm Serious and trap music, that's when he was starting to become, you know, people were starting to listen to him more, starting to fuck with him more, or whatever. But Urban Legend is like, holy shit, T.I., that he, you know, that's the nigga. I already said it earlier. I said Urban Legend is a classic. I still have the Urban Legend album on CD when CDs was the thing to get. You know what I mean? King was a good album. That was a good sequel to the Urban Legend. Then T.I. versus T.I.P. came, and I was like, well, this, you know, it's not as fucking good.
But now, it still had big singles off of there though.
But Big Shit Poppin', I mean, it was a big. It kind of follows your argument that you have with Keith, right? Big Shit Population, that wasn't a great fucking song. Yeah, it was a nice commercial song or whatever. You know, of course, it's gonna get people going on with the hook, but nobody be talking about that fucking song. Let's be real. The only reason why we're talking about it is because we're talking about T.I.
That was a good song though.
To me, I didn't think that song was that great. If you liked it, that's cool. I'm not gonna say you're wrong for liking it. I'm not gonna say if Nigel, if even likes it. But to me, I didn't think that was a great song. Now, Paper Trail, I thought I was like, okay, you know, Paper Trail is a good album. I'm not gonna hate on Paper Trail. But after Paper Trail, you know, T.I. once again, you know, he went down slope, and ever since then, that's it. He had that one hit with Young Thug, but people remember it because of Young Thug. You know what I mean? So like. Right. I just feel like, you know, he did have his run, and you will never ever be able to strip that away from him. But when you're talking about fucking legends, he is not the first name that pops up. That's what I'm saying.
I can see where you're coming from. I can agree with you partially. To me, I think T.I. deserves to be in, when it comes to like rap legends, he deserves to be in that category because his run was like almost like 7 years because Paper Trail was 2008. So just to be able to have, for any artist at the end of the day, to be able to produce music to that extent, and then on top of it, he wrote a lot of the Bow Wow hits outside of just his own career, right? In terms of a legend from what he is, he deserved that, right? Even from just writing a lot of those big Bow Wow hits in itself, right? But in his career solely, he deserves it as well because he had a 7-year run with hits on every album that were actually really good songs. So for me, we'll just have to agree to disagree on that one. But I don't know. I think T.I. deserves the right to be in that echelon, but at the same time, I just don't think he's beating 50. When it comes down to it, 50 got too many hits. Some songs I don't think T.I. can respond to. At the end of the day, even like some of the joints that didn't get cut off, Get Rich or Die Trying, or Beg for Mercy, or the Curtis album, or I forget the other album that he had, but out of most of 50 Cent's albums, I think T.I. is gonna have a long day. Long story short,
at the end of the day, T.I.'s a legend, and that's it.
Exactly. But speaking about 50 though, from what we were talking about earlier, I don't know if you saw, but you know how he was on the Pop Smoke album,
right?
And he EP'd it. Well, yeah, it said he wasn't taking any money from it. Now I'm not even gonna say ironically enough. Well, ironically enough, actually, because that album came out last week. The because Pop Smoke's murder had been unsolved still, the LAPD had put out recently in the past couple days ago, that they actually arrested 5 guys for the Pop Smoke murder.
Good. I'm glad. I'm
Yeah,
glad to hear that. I'm glad, when people can get some type of finality to these murders that happen to people that they loved. You know what I mean? Like, definitely, it's nice to know that we can like at least see some type of closure to the situation.
it's a success, one next step in this investigation, because I'm curious to see what happens, but I think I am happy to see that at least. So,
It's
but
nice, man. Like, I'm glad to hear it. You know what I mean? Like, we finally get to know the people who did it and get some type of closure.
yeah,
His album came out, is doing well. They're about to put out the deluxe edition. Apparently without Pusha T song, because the whole situation that went on with that. And he was talking about Drake and whatever.
yeah, man, that verse was fire, bro.
Let,
Like,
could we divulge into that little situation, right? R.P. Pop Smoke. I fucks with the album. I thought Pop Smoke was going to be like the biggest thing from fucking New York, and he was taken away. You know,
facts.
he should. It sucks that he died because I was definitely fucking with him. And I kind of came late onto him. I know niggas was fucking with him with like Meet the Woo and before that, but Meet the Woo too.
Right.
I fuck with that shit. I fuck with almost every song off that thing. So, but what I really want to say though is I think Pusha T is mad fucking corny for this whole situation, and I kind of agree with like what Young Thug's statement about it. Like the shit is weird, bro. Like I mean, how are you gonna put a diss out on a dead man's album? You know what I mean? Like this is supposed to be kind of like a unity thing, and like how we kind of like showing love for Pop Smoke, but Thug and Gunna is cool with Drake, but you hopping on the song dissing Drake on Pop Smoke's album. To me, that was corny, bro, and I can understand why somebody feel type of
But
way about that. Like, hold up, like I don't want to be associated with that.
see, I think Thug was corny for that though, personally, because even before that, no one even knew that Thug, who was on the song, and I think he was on the song last, because Pusha T had went on a rant about this on IG. Like, no one even knew it was a Drake diss until Drake pulled the record at the end of the day. And the reality is, it's hip hop at the end of the day. Like, if I take it, it's not like he made song. It wasn't like he made it. He said his name. Like, it can always be something of, oh, I think he's talking about Drake, and I'm quite sure Drake has had songs. Even though granted, Drake responded to Pusha T with an album with when he redid Scorpion. So to me, I don't think Pusha T was corny for it. Like, Pusha T had his right to actually make that judgment call and say, "Hey, I want to put this verse on here." It was a fire verse. It's a fire verse regardless if you acknowledge that it's a diss to Drake or not. So to me, I think Thug was being sensitive about it, and I mean I understand him talking out about it because he has a relationship with Drake, so he's doing what he's supposed to do. But I don't know. To me, I think Thug was lame for that. Like, it's rap music at the end of the day. Like, and even Pusha T was like, yo, he even said like, yo, listen, I don't even want the verse on there if it's gonna cause too much. If it's gonna cause this type of headache, just pull the verse from it. So
Here's why I see it, right? Like, me personally, I think I don't have a problem with Pusha T doing what he did. I like, if they're gonna bring all of this attention to Pop Smoke's album, then just leave the song on there because it's good for Pop Smoke at the end of the day because it's gonna sell. But it's like, what's the point of doing this and then taking the
not
song
really.
off?
It's not. It doesn't mean anything, Pop Smoke, right? Pop Smoke is he's no longer on Earth.
Well, I mean,
So
but even still, like, it will be able to. I'm assuming people still getting paid off his residuals. Why wouldn't you want to bring that attention to his like project so it could sell more for those people to get money? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that it's the end all be all when it comes to sales, but we all know that beef like promotes sales to a certain degree.
I think this situation is different just because it's on a album where a man died where he's not benefiting from it at all. You know what I mean? And I just think that there's nothing wrong with Pusha T being on a song with Thug and Gunna. I don't think he should have used the song as a diss. You know what I mean? I feel like he should have just did a normal verse or whatever kind of verse, but not dissing anybody. Like I said, the album. You know, imagine there's it's a tribute album to you, and then a nigga, he's being so selfish. He's kind of like, well, I'm on here, so I'm going to talk shit about another nigga. Like, they're like, well, bro, it's not, this shit ain't about you. You know what I mean? And I can understand why somebody's like, look, whatever you got going on, that's cool. But, I don't want to be, I'm not a part of that. I just want people to know because sometimes I mean, especially in the age that we live in, the narrative could get spun around like, I was aware of the diss. I was aware of what he said, before it went publicly, and I was cool with it. So I don't fault though for coming out there. Maybe he didn't have to go through social media, but that's just the age we live in now. Maybe he could have reached out to Pusha T personally, but maybe he didn't have. Maybe he doesn't do that. I don't know, but since it's out there like that, I just feel like it's not. It's the wrong type of drama to help promote an album. The album was going to do well anyway, with or without the verse.
The album was going to do well with or without the verse, but I think in that case, but I do think at the same time with Pusha T, right? Pusha T, when he made that verse with the intentions of like most old rap songs used to be, where people threw shots at each other without ever really saying who it was. Like even there's popular songs with Biggie where he's dissing Nas and no one knows he's dissing Nas, right? And it's, you see this across many albums of different artists from Wu-Tang Clan to members of the Wu-Tang Clan and so on and so forth. But to me, I just see it like this. It's not like, if he had said Drake's name, to me, had he said Drake's name to me, I would have said, okay, you could have thrown subliminal shots and on that be left to you and him or anybody that wants to indulge in that part of the music. And like Nigel says, to some extent, it will help. It would help the streams, but I don't know. I really don't have a problem with Pusha T's verse at the end of the day. Granted, I know it's a tribute album for Pop Smoke, but somehow so many people listen to that verse on the way to it being finalized that it wasn't until Drake stepped in and said something, which to me it showed something about Drake personally to me, which I thought was kind of corny. Because to me, I felt as though, granted, it's a power move that has always happened in the industry, but to me, it's just like, okay, it lets me know that this beef thing still affects you personally. It affects you to the point emotionally that you can't let it subside. Because at the end of the day, if I was Drake, go ahead, you could put it this out. I'm just not going to respond to you. I'm going to ignore you. But Drake.
But you're not Drake though. Everybody handles confrontation differently. So I feel like, for Drake to get the verse pulled, if he had the power to do that, I'm not hating on him. I'm like, that's crazy. You know what I mean? So like that's cool, and that's his shit. That's his problem with Pusha T. And if Drake, I'm all related to something that me and Nigel experienced, right? So Nigel, he was upset because we made a song back in the day, and he thought that I got the verse pulled, and I never did.
Right.
I never did at all. But he was so upset about that shit, like, and that really fucked with him. But the way I see it,
I'm just saying, like, it's just like I'm just sitting here hearing my feelings being, narrated. But continue. Go ahead. I was upset. I'm not gonna lie, but you just making it seem he was so hurt and he cried over that. You guys don't understand. Like,
son couldn't even eat.
Yeah,
I was hanging out. I linked up with Nigel after that, and he was just like, "Bro, I haven't ate food since I heard the song, man."
When I talked to D'Angelo, he was like, "Nah, bro, it wasn't even like that." But he just thought that Nigel just didn't fit the song at the end of the day. But like, if I had that song and me and Nigel had that falling out, and I'm like, you know what? I probably would have been like, nah, fuck that nigga, remove him too. Because D'Angelo, even though Nigel's cool with D'Angelo, but I have more of a connection with D'Angelo than Nigel did. And shouts out to D'Angelo wherever you at right now.
Facts.
So, but I'm just saying, like, I don't fault Drake. I don't, that's just how
it's different.
That's just how he handles his shit.
That's corny.
How is that,
That's corny to me because in the situation with you and Nigel, right? I understand it because y'all are both on a song and you can pull someone. You want to get, hey, if we got attention or it's an issue, hey, pull them off the song. But it's like, yo, it'd be like saying if you and I had tension with each other, and I'm doing a song with someone else.
Yeah.
And you go to whoever is my label, the guy that whoever writes the checks at the label, right? And you tell him, hey, I need you to pull that verse off that song that Spence has. That song where Spencer's on it, pull that verse. To me, it's corny because to me it just lets me know like you stewing on this. You hear some shit. Granted, it has something to do with you, but you have nothing to do with this record. And you're like, yo, let me pull this verse real quick. Like, to me, it's just, I don't know. To me, it's just corny. It's corny. It lets me know that that beef still gets at Drake, and he probably doesn't. He's not going to respond with the record, and I think in his case, the only reason he got the verse removed was so he wouldn't have to. He wouldn't be put in a space where either it reopens that wound of, hey, you lost this battle against Pusha T at the end of the day. So,
I mean, he never really responded, but they said that, you know, his response that he did have for Pusha T, Jay Prince was like, "Oh, you can't put that out because if you do, you're gonna end up fucking that man's career up." Out of respect to the OG Don Jay Prince, you know, he didn't put it out. I'm not one of these people who looks at Jay Prince like lightly and be like, "Oh, you know, he just want clout, blah blah blah." You know, I believe that you know your rap knowledge. Jay Prince, you know, he's wants to not be fucked with. I mean, at least in Texas, you know what I mean. So if he got Drake to not put that diss out, it must have been that serious, bro. That's what
I mean. But at the same time, he signed to Jay Prince. Like, Jay Prince eats off of Drake. So,
right.
Jay Prince is going to probably say, hey, Jay Prince is able to say, yo, nah, we're not moving like that at the end of the day when it's all said and done. So I get Jay Prince saying that in terms of hey, nah, don't put this out. And also, let's be real, that's always subjective to tell me if the song, oh no, that song would have ended his career. Of course, from your standpoint, it would, but more than likely, don't put the song out because it's going to mess up the image of Drake. Because Drake would, in order for it was a catch-22 in that beef with Drake. Because only thing Drake could do is if he responded to Pusha T how he had to respond, it would break away from the image that he's known for. But if he ended up responding to it, it would have messed up his image. If he doesn't respond to it, it stains his image because he takes an L, but at the same time, it's not, he can still be the quote unquote commercial guy. So at the end of the day, I feel like that was the main thing. And on top of it, Drake is a bigger artist than Pusha T. So if Pusha T responds, it's kind of like the Jim Jones, and he's at a different level than Jim Jones, I feel like, at the time. But, I don't know, but it's like the Jim Jones and Jay-Z beef, right? Jim Jones even came out. I remember Jim Jones saying like, yo, I diss Jay. If he doesn't respond, he's like, I have nothing to lose. If Jay responds, I'm talked about. If he doesn't respond, nobody gives a damn. So I think it was one of those situations in terms of a response. But what Drake did to respond to Pusha T was make a whole album about him. So I guess Scorpion, the side A of Scorpion.
I don't think the whole
there were plenty shots put on there throughout that whole album, throughout that whole side A.
That I'm not gonna disagree that there weren't plenty of shots. I just don't think like the whole album was dedicated to say fuck you Pusha T. And that's
he remade Scorpion because of that diss. Because Scorpion was supposed to be like, I think maybe 20 songs. And then once he got this, he redid the whole album. Drake has openly came out and said after that, and they weren't going to put out the disc. He remade a lot of those songs. He reworked a lot of those songs that he had for Scorpion, added new songs, so he could take those shots at him. So Pusha T responding in this way, granted he probably could have responded on someone else's on a different song, but he did it the way he wanted it to. So it's like, yo, you take shots at me and I say something back to you without putting your name in it. It's up for conversation. So to me, I think Drake just was corny for blocking that shit at the end of the day. So
hey man, shouts out to the LeBron James of rap music. You know what I mean? Shouts out to the current GOAT of the game right now. So no, nobody's dick riding, bro. Even you was like, ooh, you know, I like that Drake shit. I like when he sing. I listen to him sing when I'm in the shower.
I never said that shit.
Jesus.
That shit, nigga.
Never said that shit.
Jesus.
I like sweating when his music come out. Yeah, nigga, I remember.
Wow.
You out of nowhere said, all right, shouts out to the LeBron James of rap. I'm just sitting here listening to y'all.
Yeah, you out of pocket. You just as out of pocket as Jada, man.
That's the LeBron James of rap, Nigel.
Look, like if you want to keep on riding his dick, that's cool. I'm just saying, like, we got other things to talk about.
Answer the question. Just answer the question.
I'd rather talk about other things. So speaking of the other topics, y'all. Speaking of the other topics, Wow's boy Donald Trump was going off in the news this week. He was coming at.
Let's cut it short, bro. Stop saying he's my boy because he's not. I fucking voted for who I voted for, and it wasn't no motherfucking Trump. So stop saying that nut shit, nigga. I'm gonna be real about that. Stop saying that shit.
So Wow's boy Donald Trump, he was going off on. He was going off on a few people this week. He, for whatever reason, decided to talk about all the things going. Well, of course, he's going to talk about all the things going on in the NFL. He's apparently starting his campaign right now by seemingly offending as many people as possible, but I feel like the worst is yet to come.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's so much that goes on in the headlines with him. I'm curious to see what happens next because, just like you, I'm curious to see because he apparently like he commuted Roger Stone, who was like supposed to be in jail for I think 2-3 years or some shit like that.
Right. And
then on top of it, like he talking about like the whole cut in school funding shit. Like it's like I'm lost for words, to be honest with you. Like it's one of those situations where it's just like, yo, I don't know why, but like he has a method to his madness, and I'm very curious to see what is all going on because I don't know if I didn't hear you say it or not, but you said something about who also, right?
I didn't bring that up now.
Well, because he's pulling us out of the World Health Organization in 2021. Which is like, granted, I think he stopped paying them and all of that shit. So, which is crazy, but which is wild because actually there's like 15,000 new cases today in Florida, and the World Health Organization is helping with like this fight against the virus and this whole pandemic. So,
well,
I don't know what.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I mean, just looking at some of the things that he's been saying recently, like just talking about how essentially calling Native Americans Indians in our sporting events is like, a sign of strength. Him pulling out of the WHO. He's been saying a few other things like that. Just is kind of.
I know he came at Bubba Wallace too.
Said he actually owed NASCAR an apology. Like I think he's just really kind of pandering to his fan base, and I think it's only going to get stronger. I'm curious to see what he does next. I haven't bought any more adobo yet, but we'll see. I don't know.
I sent you the recipe.
Yeah, I'm not making that shit, man. Come on, let's be real.
Nigga, bro, it's not even that hard.
I'm not saying it is. I'm just not making it.
if you not just buy Badia, like or Badia. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Like
if
anybody,
we have any Spanish listeners, can y'all please give us some alternatives to Goya? We would be very appreciative.
Well, anybody that cooks,
anybody that cooks as well. Thank you.
Yeah, anybody that cooks. Yeah, please send us some tips, and also hit me if you cook. Actually, hit me up at St. Kitts because I actually cook, so I want to see what recipes you got. But yeah, like. I mean, to me, it's like even in the Goya situation because they had co-signed them. The only thing I respect about the CEO of Goya is he just said, "Yo, I'm not apologizing for what I said," and that's it. So
yeah, he stuck to his guns.
Yeah, I respect that. I don't really agree with what he said, but to each his own. Like everybody has a right to their own opinion, and in that situation, it's like, okay, you have the right to your own opinion. Cool. And I just respect the fact that you double down on it because a lot of times celebrities and CEOs of any stature, they say something that the public pressures them to apologize for, and they typically fold, which I understand. But I think a lot of times a lot of people apologize for things they've said or done, and they don't really mean it. So in this situation, I respect that, but it's I got a cabinet full of seasonings, so I'll be good.
I think
definitely when it comes.
Go ahead, Law.
So, the red hat guy, I think that he's losing steam and he's doing whatever he can so this way he could be a part of the headlines. I think the Bubba Wallace thing was just so lame and so stupid, right? Because he's painting it out like it's like Juicy Jussie Smollett again, and which is really not the fucking case because he's not the one that came out and said anything. It was his fucking team. You know what I mean? And then when he said that he should apologize to NASCAR for what, motherfucker? He didn't come out and said shit about fucking NASCAR. You know what I mean? He wasn't shitting on NASCAR at all. You know what I mean? But of course, that's just the guy that we have in office. The whole Roger Stone thing. Are you surprised? You know what I mean? And
I mean, we saw that coming. We saw the community coming. It's just a matter of when.
And then the thing on Goya, the Goya CEO isn't the only motherfucker he isn't the only guy who's sitting at an executive position at a company that supports Trump. He's just bold enough to come out and actually support Trump. And there's a lot more motherfuckers that go out there and support Trump. And some of them have already done it, and some of them just hasn't come out the closet yet. So I think that a lot of these big corporations, actually, fuck with him. And I'm not saying they fuck with him on a personal level, but they definitely fuck with him financially because their ass is getting bailed out or getting the loans that they may need from the government. It's just nothing but a big business, you know what I mean? And he just gotta go, man. That's all I gotta say on that motherfucker, man. He just gotta go. And
it's just with all the stuff going on, I think a lot of people are going to be dumb enough to vote for Kanye. I think a lot of people are going to vote for Biden as well. But I think Trump's fan base is his fan base, and through all of this, they've stuck with him. We need to be solid on our side if we want to get him out. Say it again.
Well, I was gonna say you heard about why they think Kanye's really running though, right?
Yeah, I've heard about it.
Still, yeah, which I think is a plausible idea of so he can still votes away from Biden.
Right.
I don't know. It's all wild. At the end of the day, I think we'll just have to. I mean, we'll be back here next week, so we'll be able to see what's going on with that shit again. To be honest with you.
Right. Can we leave off with the update with Will and Jada?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, I was trying to get to it earlier. Anybody that's listening, I hope you guys have watched it by now. Jada brought herself to Red Table Talk, right? And listen, man, you want to talk about a lack of accountability? She's given toxic a new word in our vocabulary, and it's called entanglement.
Entanglement.
If you're unsure what entanglement means, you should probably check our page, right? Because we definitely made it word of the day.
I think that's actually the new definition.
It is like a toxic way of devaluing a relationship that the other party perceived as being a committed relationship, also considered infidelity by some. And I mean, I ain't gotta use the sentences, but we all know. Og put the city boys down by 100. I ain't gonna hold you. Jada put the city girls up by like the hot girl summer shits and all of them chicks. She definitely put them on the board again.
Look, so let's be real. Let's talk about this, okay?
My nigga Will was sick too.
Let's be real. Have we ever, as men, fallen to some strong the power that women have? And you know what power I'm talking about.
No, spell it out, nigga. spell it out. Just you don't gotta be blunt, but be a little more descriptive.
Has a girl ever had you wrapped around her finger because of the way she does what she does?
Oh
Uh,
yeah. I mean, I've been there once. I've been there
I've
once.
been there before as well.
Okay. When you mean wrapped around your finger, you mean like clinky, or do you mean like you're kind of like, oh, I'm really fucking with this girl?
Let's just say acting out of character.
Oh, that's. I mean, you gotta be descriptive with that too, then, right?
Come on, man. You know what I mean, man.
What like be okay? Give me an example then. Just give me an example.
Fam, come on, yo.
Yeah.
No, for real. Cause like, I mean, you niggas, we're all three different people. You guys are a different breed. You know what I mean?
Fuck out of here, nigga.
I'm just saying, like, maybe you guys, once you get, adult time, maybe you guys are like rushing to the mall to go buy a bag.
Shut the fuck up, yo. Shut up.
There's varying degrees of the shit, but you know what I mean. Okay. Have you ever been there at all?
Okay. Yes. Not at an extreme degree, but let's say yes.
Okay.
Extreme degree. But to answer your question, Nigel, I guess I'll just say yes, to be simply put.
All of that just to agree at the end of the day, like.
No, because I thought, because he's being very vague about it. I'm like,
it wasn't. You ain't never had no box to make you act out. Like, come on, yo. Every guy, I don't care what.
When you said act out, it was kind of like, yo, I'm finna fight mad niggas for her. Or,
yo, that's how some dudes are, though.
Right. Yeah. Are you willing to fight, though?
Me personally, no. But what I will say is that I've been like Klinger stage 3.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, it is what it is. I'm not afraid to say it. Like I've been there in the past.
Loud acting like we ain't men. Like, come on, yo.
No, I'm not. Look, I'm not saying that, yo. So don't make it seem like I'm this hello extra macho man.
You're Cozy Esteban. What do you mean? I'm not making you anything.
Yeah.
No, yes, you're right. Don Pablo El Chapo. That's what I am. But at the end of the day, like Spence said, we're all men, so we all do fall.
Stop capping.
I'm not capping, nigga, but I ain't out there looking for rings like you niggas are. You know what I mean? I'm not doing that.
Okay.
Niggas, I hate having these conversations with dudes when they be capping, yo. It's like, come on.
I'm not capping. You real life know me. Yeah, I'm not capping. Come on.
I know. That's why I'm saying that. Like,
come on, bro. You been out there. You been out there with me, dog. I'm just saying.
We back at Cap City Records again, man. So back into like the Jada thing, though, right? Like with Jada, at the end of the day, like when Nigel was talking about like having something to make you act up, right? I think it's partially that, but also the fact like Bull was sick, right? He was sick and he had lost, like I think he had lost his brother or his best friend or some shit like that. So he had adopted his 3 god kids and he was out on pills and he was having like a mental breakdown and all of this shit. Like I think she took advantage of him to some extent. I will say like, listen. Well, hear me out. Let me finish. Let me finish, and you'll probably agree partially. So, I think at that moment, because she even came out and said, because I watched the table talk, she's like she wanted to have fun. Like she thought she could find happiness and healing. August was something that would make her happy, and she figured it was just like a happy thing. She was doing it for her own reasoning, right? So to some extent, she took advantage of him because he was sick, right? He took advantage of it because he was sick. But at the same time, I do fault August to some extent. He had to have some accountability in the shit because at the end of the day, I've messed with women just like anybody else, and women that are older than you especially. Like if they have, and I'm not even gonna say myself, but if a woman is in a relationship or married, and she approaches you, no matter if she's your healer or whatever, like if she approaches you for that and you take it down, you also should recognize like, okay, this is what it is. It can't be anything outside of that when it's all said and done. So that's how I look at that. That's why when he talked about getting Will's blessing, what does that really mean, bro? If you think about it, getting Will's blessing could be, oh yeah, he probably could have talked to Will one day and said, yeah, I heard you and Jada are like going through things and y'all not together. And he probably could say, oh yeah, we taking a break from each other. And as a guy, you'll say, oh, I got his blessing. He told me they wasn't even together no more. So he let me know that she was free game. Like dudes will do some Weasley stuff like that. You know that.
I hear you, but I mean, if you want to say she was selfish in a situation and she did it for her own needs, I'll agree with that. I will agree with that, but it's like if you're talking about like she took advantage of him, I don't think she really made him do anything he didn't want to do. I think
he was on drugs.
He was on drugs.
Yeah, he was addicted to pills. He was addicted to pills. When she met him, she was helping him heal himself, right? Because he was on pills. He was having a psychotic break, and I think there was some other things going on, like in terms of stress and mental health, right? So that's why I say like she was taking advantage of him to some extent. It's no different than like it's like some HIPAA rule, right? For like therapists, right? A therapist loses their license if they have a relationship with their client, but most people say, well, the client should know not to. If the client just chooses to sleep with their therapist, that's their conscious decision. But also, to some extent, with all of us know this, with we're all human. You can grow an intimate relationship with people depending on whatever the foundation of that relationship is built upon, right? Even as a therapist, and I'm not even gonna say as therapists, but like you have people that if you just learn psychologically, you just learn how to leave certain doors open if you want to make something out of it down the line. And I think in Jada's case, she took some advantage of that because he was mentally unstable, and he was, if you help heal me, and then like you may, and Jada Pinkett is Jada Pinkett at the end of the day, bro. Like you saw what Boosie said.
Look, I hear you, and to a certain degree, I can understand what you're saying. I'm still gonna leave most of that on, like it was a consensual thing. And while he might have been in a more vulnerable state than he might be on a normal day, I still think at the same time, he made a full conscious decision to do what he did with her. And there's nothing wrong with that. At the end of the day, even if her and Will were together and she chose to step out and that's what they did, I'm not going to judge them for that either. That's their business. But what I will say is that I do think that in the midst of what was going on, I don't think she took him seriously. And I think he got emotionally invested. And I think he might have I don't think it was just a sexual thing. I think he was invested in Jada. I think he had serious feelings for him. Yeah.
She even says that it was a relationship they had.
I just don't think she ever took it that seriously.
Oh, no, of course she didn't.
It was an entanglement.
By her standards, in terms of the lack of accountability, it was an entanglement. Instead of, you saw Will's face when she said that shit, yo.
Yeah, he's like, damn, you really put it on him.
He was sick, and and shouts out to Will Smith, you know what I mean? Because like he was a trooper for that. Because a lot of niggas would have got emotionally devastated, probably would have been threatening the women and all that shit like that. But he really took it on the chin, and he was fucking. That sucks, but
I mean, listen. I think for Will also, you realize because he tweeted one of the first things he tweeted was pain. That was like the first thing he tweeted was just pain. Now, to me, honestly, I think after that Red Table Talk, I wouldn't be surprised if August was chilling in their crib when they came home, like, and they all are in on this shit. But I feel like with Will, in his case, like, they were both separated. And Will has even said, like, you did your thing and I was doing mine. So I think Will was knocking some joints down. He probably was just like, wow, you just couldn't keep your joints quiet. That's all that is. And what August, at the end of the day, just like any situation, like if you tell Shorty like, yo, listen, I'm on a break with my girl, and like I'm not really looking for a relationship right now, or I'm not really looking to be anything serious with someone, you can go out, have dates. I've dated women before and told women, yeah, I'm dating, that doesn't mean I'm in a relationship with them, or let me say they're not my girlfriend and I'm not their boyfriend or whatever, none of that shit. So, but like you said, sometimes in them situations when you tell someone like, yo, this is all it is, sometimes people don't know how to take that and they choose to say like, oh, let's make it more.
Right. No,
And
you're
I
right.
think that, and I think that's probably somewhere along the lines. That's why I say August holds some accountability to that, because I agree with you on that. Me and Keith was actually debating that shit. Like, I'm like, bro, he's accountable. I don't give a fuck. At the end of the day, August was wrong for sleeping with Shorty. I would have done the same thing August did, but he was wrong for doing it.
He wasn't wrong.
And no, I only say he was wrong just because it's like, damn. Now, if Will had, now let's say had Will spazzed out, all right? Let's say Will had found out he was knocking her off, and Will had flipped out and beat the shit out of August, right? You'll be like, oh no, that's messed up, blah blah blah, because they were on a break and all of this. But it's more, to me, it's more of, damn, like I would let you in my house, you eat my food, all of this shit, and you end up, me and my wife are going through something, so you capitalize off of it by like knocking her off, like.
So how was he not wrong, Nigel? Because if you saying, and let's say you and your wife, you taking a nigga in for whatever reason, and yes, you and your wife might not be 100% on the same page at the moment, but that is still your wife at the end of the day. And next thing you know, boom, he's laying pipe to your wife and laying good pipe too, to the point where she's buying the nigga clothes and all sorts of crazy shit. And then next you found out, you didn't know at the moment, but later down the line you found out. You wouldn't be upset. You'd be like, oh yeah, it is what it is.
I'm not saying I wouldn't be upset, but what I would say is that if they're taking a break the way they said they were taking a break, it didn't seem like they were on the way to getting back together. It seemed like they were like, hey, we're separating for a little bit. And they were doing their own thing. And if she decided while she was doing her own thing to go and fuck August, that's what she chose to do. If he chose to go out there, if he chose, hold on, wait. Let me finish. If he went out in there and also had sex with people, then she's not wrong either. Me personally, I don't blame him for being upset. If he were to go and just bust his ass, like I'm not going to blame him for being upset about that, because at the end of the day, that is his wife. But they were the type of break they said they were taking. It doesn't sound like he had any room for that.
No, I'm not saying they're separated, right? So that's one thing, but it's different if Jada was out there, she was just sleeping with niggas that Will didn't even know of or nothing like that. That's different. They took this nigga in. They even helped this nigga because he was going through mentally, he was going through a tough situation. And then to come to find out, the nigga they're helping, and yes, even though that they're not together, but it was the nigga they brought in their home, and he ends up fucking his wife. That's, you're gonna be really upset. You're gonna be really tight, because it's not like she's fucking some random dude that she just met at the club. Oh, I'm gonna knock him off, I'm doing my thing. She's fucking a guy that both of you are fucking. You mutually know this person.
He stayed in your house.
Yeah, no, I hear you. You're right.
That like he has every right to be fucking upset about it.
No, you're right.
Yeah, so I mean, but the one thing I learned about them though was that, and at the end of the day, it's a human when it's all said and done, right?
Right.
So like shit like that happens to any relationship. That happens to more relationships than we know.
Y'all ready to wrap it up?
Yeah, like I think. Oh, before we get out of here, well, I want to speak on the Juice WRLD Summer Walker album real quick, but yeah, like though that's something that happens. It's just you should not. At the end of the day, I think as a guy, you just gotta have certain rules. Certain rules is just like, yo, these are codes, and if a man takes me into his house, pause, and if him and his wife take me into their house to help me. Like, no matter what happens, I should not be trying to nail this girl. Regardless, like, and
that.
And he's wrong, just like she's wrong for it, because we ain't gonna get into the whole thing in some aspects, but all I know is like for her, like I think a lot of this showed there was a lack of accountability for her when she calls an entanglement. and Will knocked down a bunch of Jones just like she did, and it is what it is. But
Well, I mean, when y'all talk about like because I don't think about the whole like taking him into the house thing. So I mean, for that part of it, yeah, I wasn't thinking about that. But as far as him fucking her though, I don't blame him for that.
yeah,
I don't think he should feel bad about that either.
I mean he's
Until it
still
gets to the other part.
yeah like it was, but it's hard to negate the other part because
Right.
all of that stuff came before that. So
Right.
it'd be like, and like and no need to beat a dead horse, but it's be the same as saying like you work with someone and y'all are super cool and they going through some rough stuff, so you're like, oh yeah, dude, you can stay in my house, and it's you, your wife, and like you might have your cousin or some shit living there, your kid. Let's say you got kids, and you let your coworker stay there. You and your wife go through it. Y'all kind of split up for a bit to kind of figure some things out on your own, and then get back together. And you find out like your coworker, the person you let your coworker in your house, he ends up just fucking your wife all crazy and dating your wife.
Right.
Like it'd be hard. That's just one of those ones where it's like, damn, that's fucked up. You can
Yeah.
you can smash anybody. Like it's just the same as like I think, and for me, that's one of my codes. Like if you dated that girl, I can't touch her. If we friends, if like we real friends, I'm not smashing your girl unless like there's a conversation that has to be had for all of that. But prior to if that's something that you're willing to do. So, but all in all, that whole situation was crazy. They showed what unconditional love is the way Will was able to stand there. Granted, they're actors, and honestly, they in Hollywood. I think more likely August was just fed up and he just used this shit as a promo run. In all honesty, so
I I I think well, now that the cat's out the bag, you know what I mean? So I just hope that they just go everything moves forward. Hopefully Will and Jada they could, be stronger together. Um that being said, Spence, I know you say you wanted to mention something about Juice World and Summer Walker before we cut this off.
yeah. Just before we get out of here, just because I know the albums came out recently. The Juice WRLD album, I listened to it. Rest in peace. They said he did like over 250 million streams within like the first 2 days, I think, of him releasing that music. So shout outs to him for that. I wasn't a big fan. I never was a big fan of his music, to say the least, because he just was in a different generation, different class. I'll say generation class. But the music wasn't bad. It kind of reminded me a lot more of like less rap music and more like the music, like the rock music that we grew up on, somewhat, that was around like in the MTV days of like Fall Out Boy, 98 Degrees and shit like that. Not something like Slipknot or Korn or some shit like that, but just like it seemed more of like pop boy band music that has that's mixed with rap music more of, which I'm happy to see. I'm happy to see music like that, somewhat similar to the versatility that Act had. Um, I probably have to listen to it again. It was actually shorter than I thought. They did a really good job with this album, though. I will say that. And then for like Summer Walker's album, Summer's
I want to
Walker's
listen to that.
album, that bro, listen, if you got 15 minutes, you can listen to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
The,
listen to that maybe tonight.
it's like a 16-minute album, which is fucking annoying personally because it's like 6 songs on there, and it's 16 minutes. It's really good. Actually, when I had to drive to your crib, I was 30 minutes away when I played it, and I was able to listen to it like twice before getting to your crib.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's all right. It's pretty good. Like, she on some toxic shit though. I will say that. Like, she's definitely talking that like, oh, she said some shit like, oh, you talked all that shit and now you calling 911. Like,
Mm.
yeah,
Jeez.
like, yeah,
I like hearing women on their toxic shit sometimes
like
though.
yeah, you gonna like this shit thing. And the words of luck, she gonna love it. Like you, like I'm serious because she talking some toxic shit. She talking some toxic shit. She got that very airy. singing sound that's kind of similar to like that Janae Aiko type of sound somewhat. And it's good music, and just seeing what Twitter is even saying about it, because it's the internet streets to some extent. It's they love it. She brought between Jada Smith, between the City Girls dropping recently, Jada Pinkett Smith, and now Summer. Fam, it looks like the toxic, like for toxic stuff for women, they about to have a nice run. A nice run.
City Girls are here, man.
Yeah, City Girls up 100 after that shit. After August put us back 100 points. So, but I definitely do recommend everybody listen to the Summer Walker album. Hopefully, maybe at the end of the month, or hopefully sometime soon, we can kind of give more of a deeper breakdown. But it's real cool. It's a good album overall. Real airy. Real toxic to some extent. And she's just talking that shit that Summer always does. I just wish she would make longer music. That's my biggest gripe against her. So,
just remember. I'm sorry, say it again.
No, I was just gonna say. Other than that, like, Other than that, it wasn't too much that needed to be said. Oh, I did want to say shout out to Venom for landing that deal with UFC also. So
a friend of mine mentioned also. Shout out to So Clean. She's a avid listener of the show. She knows who she is. Definitely shout out to her. And when you hear this, drop a few ones in the comments. Definitely like appreciate you. Another one of our friends told me that next month is the month of Entanglement, being August. So be prepared for that. It's coming right down the pipeline. Got to be ready. You got to be ready.
I'm glad to hear that. I know what type of energy I'm getting next month though.
And shouts out to Gilroy for the last episode. We appreciated that.
Yeah, definitely. So shout outs to Gilroy, shout outs to Ona Humble, shout outs to JN88. Me and him was actually, and we'll talk about, granted, we're gonna talk about the Gnome 10 on a different on its own episode, but right. me and JN88, my man's we was talking about that daylight battle, bro. Man, listen. Shout outs to Caffeine.
Shout out to Caffeine.
Shout outs to Caffeine. Shout outs to URL. Shout outs to RBE. Shout outs to KOD, King of the Dot. Shout outs to all of them, because battle rap is here and I can't wait to see what's going to happen. We're going to talk more about that though. Trust me on that.
But I think that's about it.
Yeah, so I guess with that being said, I don't think there's anything else to be said. If you're in Florida, stay safe. Yeah, if you're in Florida, stay safe. And hey, when does the NBA start?
July 30th.
July 30th. Yeah, so I hope they're able to let those guys take their time with those meals that they got. And you know what I'm saying, because they living on school lunches for a couple more weeks.
So Disney has some Lunchables. Pass them up this way.
Hey, it's the bubble, man. The bubble is going to get hectic because there's already a shorty that said that she got invited to the bubble. Meaning, like, the NBA players, they're already inviting the Tings down there. So yeah, it's about to get hectic down there. So Corona might ramp up for real.
Yeah. It really might. It really might. And who knows? I mean, we're gonna see some. It's gonna be some shit to be seen. Like, I just hope J.R. Smith is able to stay focused. That's all. And shout outs to those.
Come on, we already know he's not.
Yeah. He has to be away from his family for some weeks for this. Oh yeah. And it's kind of like Orlando's somewhat of as a good city for entertainment. So, and outside of that, I said shout outs to Venom. I don't know what's up with Rollo, but we'll tell you more about it next week, hopefully, because he was given a bail and he was supposed to be out Friday, but he's not. So, yeah. But with all that being said, shit, you've been hot. Oh yeah. Shout outs to the 36,000 people that got laid off from United Airlines because of this coronavirus shit. Hold y'all heads up. I know that I forget what act it was. It's not the Heroes Act, the Trace Act or some shit like that. I know they just cut the funding on that, so people aren't getting that extra $600 a month. But it is what it is. Sadly, they're not getting that $600 a month. So, unfortunately, I wish them the best, and we're all gonna get through this. You've been highly advised.
Y'all been highly advised, y'all. See y'all next week. Boop, 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 boop.